The Little Vampire was the first scary film that I ever remember watching, to the point where I couldn't sleep at night. And to this day, because it takes me back to that point in my childhood, it still very much gives me the creeps. This was released in 2000 when I was 8. I believe I probably saw it straight away or thereabouts, because Jonathan Lipnicki is our protagonist. He plays Tony Thompson, and I was a very big Stuart Little fan. So I probably watched it because he was in it. Otherwise, I don't really remember ever showing any interest in scary films at that age, apart from Hocus Pocus and Casper, if that counts. It did scar me, but maybe not excessively, as I now do love horror. Directed by Uli Edel, written by Karey Kirkpatrick, based on the novel by Angela Sommer-Bodenburg. I didn't know there was a novel. If you have read it, let me know what you think of it. I'm probably not going to check it out. And as I said, it stars Jonathan Lipnicki as well as Richard E. Grant and Jim Carter. I think it's very well cast. Everybody suits their roles very well. The acting is obviously good. And this is about, believe it or not, a vampire. And the description from IMDb is as follows. A lonely American boy living in Scotland makes a new best friend, a fellow 9-year-old who happens to be a vampire. Now, I'm Scottish. I don't know why the decision was made to set it in Scotland. I'm assuming the novel uses that location. But Rudolph, our vampire character, who's played by Rollo, befriends Tony, and he is now exploring the life of a vampire and learning what it's like to be a vampire. And we get introduced to Rudolph's family, and Tony finds out what happens to the vampires at night. And they begin to kind of rely on Tony, who can come out during the day and source things for the vampires, whose, existence is under threat. There's nothing scary in that. It doesn't sound like anybody's being stalked, haunted, chased out of their villages. I'm not the biggest vampire fan, believe it or not. But it's the atmosphere, the wings, the sound effects, the kind of misty scenes, very rubbish weather. It's set in Scotland. And I think it just really, really creeped me out because of how atmospheric it actually was. I think it's done very well. In terms of its IMDb rating, it's got 5.8 out of 10. And I think that's quite weak. I think it should have at least 6.5, because it did the job of terrifying me, and it is it's a comedy family film according to IMDb. I disagree entirely. It's a scary children's film. It's rated Universal. But, from what I would expect from a film about vampires, it's atmospheric, very well cast, very well acted. The costumes are brilliant. The narrative's not the best. It's not what I would have done with the narrative, though obviously, again, if it's based on the novel, they have to work with the source material to at least some extent. But at no point would I say that it's a bad film. It's good fun in the right ways, but terrifying in others, mentally scarring in some ways. But I also kind of look upon it fondly, because I have that memory. My first horror experience, I don't remember watching the first rom-com. Actually, that's a lie. Yes, I do. It was Just Friends. But, generally speaking, I don't remember my first cartoon film or whatever. But being a big horror fan, it did mentally mess me up for a while, but The Little Vampire will always hold a special place in my heart.